A San Diego man reclaims his right to vote today, 5 years after being disqualified. What his fight might mean for other Californians with disabilities.
If we're not willing to dedicate the money for this, then what are we doing?
In fact, we decrease public safety by spending all this money on the death penalty.
End it forever or speed up the process. We look at the dueling California propositions on the death penalty. And how we'll show you exactly the moment when language learning happens. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Hello, I'm Ebony Monet. Thanks for joining us. Governor Jerry Brown has extended California's climate change law for another decade. He's also raising the bar for reducing carbon emissions. The original law had a goal of cutting them to 1990s levels. The new goal is to go even lower by 2030. Brown says it's the most aggressive target in North America. Oil companies and business groups are against it, saying it could raise prices for consumers. U.S. Senate candidate Loretta Sanchez wants a federal prosecutor to investigate the shutdown of the San Onofre nuclear power plant. KPBS investigative reporter Amita Sharma reports Sanchez says her opponent, Attorney General Kamala Harris, has failed in her own inquiry.
Sanchez accused Harris of, quote, doing nothing in the Attorney General's criminal inquiry into how customers got left with a $3.3 billion bill for San Onofre's closure after a radioactive leak. The deal's key terms were reached at a secret meeting in Poland between a Southern California Edison executive and a state regulator. Sanchez also condemned Harris for defending the California Coastal Commission's decision to allow nuclear waste from San Onofre to be buried in steel casks on the beach, in a lawsuit challenging that plan.
Ms. Harris is failing to protect the people of California and our coastal environment by defending the burial of nuclear waste on the beach and by refusing to prosecute well-documented illegal goings-on at the Public Utilities Commission. The Attorney General has made it clear that she would rather protect the PUC and political cronies than the people of California.
A Harris spokesman released a statement saying Sanchez is, quote, embarking on a deeply dishonest and negative campaign, falsely attacking and politicizing an ongoing criminal investigation. Amita Sharma, KPBS News.
A federal appeals court has upheld an energy commission's finding that power companies manipulated prices during California's energy crisis more than 10 years ago. Today's ruling by the 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals could add more than $200 million to the billions that California has recovered from energy sellers in connection to the crisis. Energy shortages plunged parts of California into blackouts in 2000 and 2001. The state bought billions of dollars worth of electricity just to keep the lights on. The suicide of a Marine recruit at Parris Island is leading to changes there and at the Marine Corps Recruit Depot here in San Diego. 20-year-old Raheel Siddiqui died last March. An investigation found a culture of hazing and abuse in his battalion. Now the Corps says it will enforce a zero-tolerance approach to hazing at its training centers, and there will be more oversight. A third neighborhood in San Diego is scheduled to be sprayed with pesticides tomorrow where the Aedes mosquitoes were found. This type of mosquito can, if infected, spread the Zika virus. The county says a man who lives in Normal Heights contracted the virus while traveling and that they're spraying to ensure it doesn't spread to the mosquito population. So far, no infected Aedes mosquitoes have been found in San Diego or in California. Two initiatives on the November ballot take very different approaches to California's death penalty. As part of our California Counts collaboration, KPBS hosted a town hall on the death penalty last night. Reporter Andrew Bowen was there.
Proposition 62 on the November ballot would abolish the death penalty and replace it with life in prison with no chance of parole. Proposition 66 would try to speed up the lengthy and expensive appeals process by forcing some lawyers to represent death row inmates. Paul Pfingst is a former San Diego County District Attorney. He says keeping capital punishment is a matter of justice and public safety.
If we're not willing to dedicate the money for this, then what are we doing? This is a primary government responsibility, and we ought to step up to the plate for whatever it costs because the stakes are so high.
Those in favor of abolishing the death penalty make essentially two arguments. One is moral, that a civilized society should not kill anyone, regardless of what they've done, and that our application of the death penalty is racist. The second argument is pragmatic. Justin Brooks of the California Innocence Project says capital punishment does not make anyone safer.
In fact, we decrease public safety by spending all this money on the death penalty because there's only a limited amount of criminal justice dollars, and we could be using that money for more police, other things that would actually increase public safety.
A measure to abolish California's death penalty in 2012 narrowly failed. More recent polls suggest these two measures could be another close vote. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
California voters have a lot to think about before casting their ballots in November, with more than 17 statewide initiatives. A new poll conducted by Cal Speaks at Sacramento State tracks the current attitude of residents on many of these issues. Earlier, I spoke with political director Kim Nalder about how Californians feel about Proposition 63, which would ban the purchase of large-capacity ammunition magazines.
So for Prop 63, we found 77% support, and we found that support in all kinds of subgroups. It's an overwhelming 93% of Democrats who support that change in the law, which is almost unheard of. And you get big majorities even amongst independents, Republicans, people of different ages. So this is one of the measures that you see the strongest support of almost anything you would see in the political world.
So what's the feeling thermometer, and how did the presidential candidates do?
A feeling thermometer is when we ask respondents to rate a candidate or a cause or something on a scale of 0 to 100, 100 being the warmest or they're most favorable to that person, 0 being the coldest. And so we asked that about the presidential candidates, and 71% of respondents were cold towards Trump, which is pretty overwhelming. He only had 17% that were warm towards him. Whereas with Clinton, it's more in the 40s, so it's more split on hers. She doesn't have this overwhelming warmth towards her, but it's far better than what Trump is looking at in California.
So the participants were also polled about their feelings about illegal immigration. What were the findings?
On illegal immigration, there was a split on how much of a problem they thought it was. We were actually sort of surprised at the findings in that there were more Californians that thought that illegal immigration was a problem than thought that it was not a problem, probably because we're a border state. We have a reputation for being liberal, especially on issues like that. But even so, a majority of Californians are concerned that illegal immigration is a problem.
How about the questions involving the California dream, the attainability of the California dream and state pride? What were the findings there?
So we asked a series of questions about the California dream, and what we found is that for the most part people feel optimistic about California. They feel like we're doing better than we were in the past, at least amongst some subgroups. But the things that a lot of people associate with that dream are a comfortable retirement and affordability of a home, being able to buy their own home. And vast majorities of Californians, but especially amongst the poor, feel like they don't have that shot. That's not an opportunity. And even people making over 100% or $100,000 per year are concerned that housing is not affordable, that they can't buy their own home. So that's probably something we should be concerned about as a state, that our affordability issues are out of control, and people feel like they can't achieve what they thought they could as Californians.
The election, as you know, is just weeks away. Do you anticipate that these results will hold, or are they likely to change as we inch closer to November?
Usually what we see in polls, especially on initiatives, is that voters early on, even this close to the race, haven't started to read their voter guides. They haven't paid attention to campaign commercials. In fact, many of the campaign commercials haven't started until about now. They start after Labor Day most of the time. And so there hasn't been a lot of exposure to these questions yet. Once people start to study up on the issues, though, we'll see some shifting.
Kim Nalder with Cal Speaks, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
The poll was commissioned by California Counts collaboration of public media groups, which includes KPBS. A judge responds to a change in California law. Now a disabled man who cannot speak will have his voice heard during the November election. KPBS reporter Steve Walsh was there to watch him register to vote.
Behind me is the county registrar's office, where David Rector today signed up to vote. The 66-year-old Rector had lost the right to vote back in 2011 after an injury left him unable to walk or to speak. San Diego Superior Court Judge Julia Coletti raised concerns that Rector's conservator and fiancé might overstate Rector's level of cognition because he cannot speak. The judge questioned whether Rector's vote would be her view or Rector's. Ultimately, the judge ruled in favor of allowing the former NPR producer to vote.
The fact that now he's not 3/5 of a person, not a conserved person who has no voting rights, not a person whose voice cannot be heard politically. He's a person now who can be heard politically.
Under California's new law, which just went into effect this year, seniors and other people with disabilities who have conservators retain their right to vote. A court must show that there is clear and convincing evidence that they cannot express their desire. Reporting from the county registrar's office, Steve Walsh, KPBS News.
A new report says the Latino population in the U.S. is growing more slowly than it had been. The Pew Research Center says the reason for the decline in the Hispanic immigration and a drop in Latino birth rates, especially among younger women. The Border Patrol has officially opened a new center for international travelers at the San Diego airport. The Global Entry Center is part of a trusted traveler program run by the federal government. People who are enrolled can use a special kiosk to check in with customs officials rather than standing in lines. Customs and Border Patrol Director William Snyder says passengers love the new center.
So the whole process, you may save an hour and a half in lieu of waiting in line.
Travelers have to enroll in the program through the Customs and Border Protection website at cbp.gov. The San Diego Zoo has taken a stand against poaching. The zoo held an event at its safari park this morning aiming to discourage the practice. They burned rhino horn products confiscated by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. The illegal items are worth about $1 million on the black market. Experts estimate more than 3 rhinos in Africa are being killed for their horns every day. Zoo officials say if the rate of poaching keeps up, rhinos could become extinct within 15 years. Fall temperatures are beginning to inch in with cooler weather expected this weekend here in San Diego. Stephanie Omo has that, plus more in tonight's forecast.
Moisture will persist to make an impact around Arizona and to New Mexico, of course, leading to more unsettled weather there. Actually, had reports of flash floods, and unfortunately, this is what we're still dealing with, but that's well away from our area throughout Southern California, San Diego, and the surrounding areas. We will keep things pretty quiet as we close out the day today. Not only here, but as we see here, satellite and radar, that's all across the state, even up north into San Francisco. So closing out the day today, your Thursday night, beginning the night with clear skies, but then we take you into late tonight. First thing tomorrow morning, we'll see the increase of cloud cover in our area. Temperatures back down to at about 67 degrees, which is quite typical for this time of year. Now, checking out the weather conditions in our area. In Borrego Springs, just clear to partly cloudy skies. Temperatures back down into the upper 60s, so not too bad. In the 50s, a bit cooler in Mount Laguna, 54 in Alpine, Ramona at 55. So across here, we're keeping those temperatures in the middle 50s. 63 in Oceanside, looking at patches of clouds here and there as we wrap up the day today. Friday, if you are heading out and about. Big area of high pressure remaining in place. It is expected to remain pretty quiet across our region. The heat will continue to expand, but temperatures will be near average for this time of year. Typically, we'll see highs in the middle 70s, and that's what we can expect here as we head into the next couple of days, although we can expect some changes as we take you into late weekend. So for the most part, relatively quiet, but we actually will keep track of an area of low pressure that's going to slide south into California and also Nevada. That's going to bring a cool down, and temperatures will begin to dive. Sunday through Tuesday, we'll see that trend through our or across our area. So checking out your extended outlook in the coast. As we head toward the weekend, temperatures will be near average at about 76 degrees for the first part of it. Partly cloudy skies will keep it pretty quiet Sunday through Tuesday, although notice the cool down will be back down into the low 70s. As we take you further inland, keeping things here quiet as well with a mix of sun and clouds Saturday and Sunday. Any plans looking great, but as we take you into Monday and Tuesday with that onshore flow that is expected to persist, we'll see temperatures take a dive back into the 70s, but we're expecting things to remain on the quiet side as we head throughout the weekend and early next week. Your 5-day outlook for the mountains. Now with the area of low pressure, we're expecting gusty winds Sunday through Tuesday, so watch out there. Also cool down. Temperatures will fall back into the 70s. We'll be back into the 90s Monday and Tuesday. In the deserts also here as well, we have to watch out for gusty winds. Stephanie Omo, KPBS News.
We're launching a new series today called What Learning Looks Like. KPBS education reporter Megan Burks will explore learning at a cellular level to help us understand how it happens or should happen in our everyday lives. Up first, she talks with a San Diego researcher teaching kids fake words to see how the brain processes language.
This is in the meaning minus condition. So
Allison Abel points to a tangle of red, green, and blue lines on her computer screen. Each is a bit like a printout from a lie detector test.
And there is no discernible pattern here.
That is the brain going over and over again, like, what?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I can't, you keep saying this word, but I can't attach any meaning to it.
Abel is an assistant professor in San Diego State's School of Speech, Language, and Hearing Sciences, and she runs a lab where she studies brain responses. The goal is to get a better picture of how we go from hearing a new word to understanding what it means. For the past 4 years, she's done that by plotting kids' neural activity as she teaches them made-up words.
So this cap has 64 electrodes in it, and each one has a sponge. So we've already put sponges in the cap, and the sponges go between the electrode and to his scalp.
To take these measurements, she uses something called an electroencephalogram, or an EEG. It's a tight-fitting cap that looks like something you'd see in a science fiction movie. It's dotted with little connectors. Abel's assistant uses a syringe to inject liquid into them.
And it has a little bit of a saline solution in there that collects the electrical activity better.
13-year-old Duncan Ha was kind enough to model the cap for me. He's the son of one of Abel's colleagues. Abel captures Duncan's brain activity on her computer so she can trace exactly what happens as he hears her made-up words.
So you're going to hear sets of 3 sentences. Each sentence ends with a nonsense word, with a made-up word. Some nonsense words will represent a real word, and some will not. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
The 2 boys fought over the Shap. They played catch with the Shap. In gym class, I like to throw the Shap. Does Shap have a real word meaning?
Yes.
What is it?
Ball.
Good. Okay. So you hit either button, and we'll get going.
I need a footstool for my gauze. She drinks milk from a gauze. You bring the drinks, and I'll bring the gauze.
So there, gauze doesn't mean anything. Duncan's brain activity makes that messy lie detector-like squiggle. But in that first exercise, when he hears the word shap, it's a stand-in for a real noun, ball. And in his brain activity, you can actually see learning happening. It starts with a big dip on the line graph during that first sentence.
The 2 boys fought over the Shap.
That means Duncan is confused. His neurons aren't sure what he's just encountered. The second and third sentences add context.
They played catch with the Shap. In gym class, I like to throw the Shap.
And the dip gets shallower and shallower until it becomes a peak.
So the third time they hear the nonsense word, it looks like the brain is processing it like it's a real word.
So this blue line is where it means that they have actually learned.
That's what we're interpreting it as. The brain is responding to it the exact same way that the brain responds to a known word.
Another way to think about this is with a baseball analogy. The unknown word is a ball headed for the left center field gap. The neurons are players scrambling to field a triple. As the ball drops and the runner rounds first, the players know more about how the play will unfold. The team's efforts become streamlined and targeted.
The first time there's a lot of work, as the brain is working really hard to try to figure out what this word is and how it's going to fit it into the sentence. Then the second time that they hear the nonsense word, the brain is working less hard because now they know it's heard the word, right? And they've started to attach meaning to it, And in this case, the third time that they hear the word, there's less effort involved because they've already been able to attach meaning to this word.
This is also what's happening when you hear something in conversation you weren't expecting.
He butters his bread with socks.
And even if one of Abel's subjects isn't sure they know what the nonsense word stands for, she can tell by looking at their brain response. The brain doesn't lie. Abel is hoping her work can help teachers and speech-language pathologists. They can use her findings to develop strategies for kids who take a little longer to reach that blue curvy line that signifies learning. Megan Burks, KPBS News.
I'm Judy Woodruff on the next News Hour, catching a wave on the real effects of trade with China on our economy and our politics. That's Thursday on the PBS News Hour.
We have a state bird, a state flower, and now denim is on track to becoming the official fabric of California. The decision was approved by state lawmakers and is enthusiastically supported by a San Diego-based jean maker.
We don't have the pattern here for the berm, do we?
Rough Skin Boutique in North Park is the storefront for the internationally recognized brand.
We're manufacturing all of our collections in San Diego. We always have, actually, since day one.
Douglas Coates is the co-founder and president. He says the internet makes it possible to keep the men's jean line San Diego-based.
The fact that we can be in a cool city like San Diego, in the great state of California even, and do our own thing is amazing.
Coates thinks making denim California's official fabric just makes sense.
I think the California lifestyle is laid back. It represents so much for the rest of the world how we live. I mean, we live so comfortably, and denim is definitely an integral part of that for sure.
Assembly Bill 501 is a nod to Levi 501 jeans. The iconic brand has been a part of California's fabric since it was launched in San Francisco in 1853.
California, for me, I mean, being French, always had like this kind of like coolness about it.
Hubert Pierre Pouchez is the man behind Rough Skin's Second Skin designs, which are hyper-focused on being well-fit.
We started with 4 jeans, 4 different styles. All of them were low-rise, straight legs, boot cut, and then from that, we keep adding and adding.
Now Rough Skin has fitness apparel, and its swimwear was recently featured in Italian Vogue. As Rough Skin continues to gain international accolades, its design, image, and attitude remain cool, relaxed California.
There is something super attractive, I think, about California, and this is why we are 100% California, like image oriented.
Horrible Imaginings Film Festival kicked off its 7th year at the Museum of Photographic Arts Wednesday night. KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando was on the selection committee. She got the film festival director Miguel Rodriguez to explain how his event is making us all think about how we define horror. Here's a video postcard from opening night.
Hi, my name is Miguel Rodriguez. I am the director of Horrible Imaginings Film Festival right here at the Museum of Photographic Arts, where we are celebrating our 7th annual festival. The festival is an exploration of the macabre, of fear, of the expression of darker emotions. There are 2 reasons I would want people to come. There are the easy prey, the people who love this already, the people who are gung-ho about scary movies, scary literature, fear in storytelling. And then there are people who are just unsure or have misconceptions about how really diverse the genre can be. And I'd like for those people to come and take a chance on it as well. While we focus a lot on cinema, it is a film festival, we also want to look at kind of the connected storytelling aspects of that. So we bring in literature, we bring in performance art, that kind of thing, and we want to express a variety of ways that these are all connected, and horror is more than just a scary movie. Specifically, we have literature imbued throughout the film festival. We've got a panel all about scares on the page, scares in the written word, horror in literature. We also have some performance art by a performer named Anna Januszkiewicz, who is going to do some aerial and some ballet and some interpretive dance, but in a very dark, twisted way. We also have a look with the Museum of Man at the phenomenon of cannibalism in pop culture, in literature, and also where we see cannibalism rear its head in human history.
What are you doing in there?
We have over 70 titles, both short and feature length. Very diverse, very eclectic. We've got animation, films from countries from all over the world to get a variety of perspectives. Science fiction comes into play, fantasy comes into play, so we do a little cross-genre as well. And I just want everybody to come and join, like I said, join the family. Come and dip your toe in, and maybe, I know some of you are curious, to satisfy that dark curiosity.
Horrible Imaginings Film Festival continues through Sunday at the Museum of Photographic Arts in Balboa Park. Check out Cinema Junkie Podcast 89 for more details. It was 50 years ago today when TV audiences first heard this.
Space, a final frontier.
Star Trek first aired in 1966. It was created by Gene Roddenberry and it tackled social issues of the day, including one of TV's first interracial kisses. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.